What if some of the foods marketed as healthy are creating the exact environment abnormal cells prefer after the age of 50? Most people think cancer risk is all about genetics, but researchers have discovered something far more interesting. The environment inside your body matters. Inflammation matters. Blood sugar control matters. Immune function matters. And the foods you eat every day help shape all three. Now, no food can guarantee that cancer will never develop. That's not how biology works. But certain foods appear to support the body's natural defense systems in ways that scientists have been studying for decades. And one of the most overlooked examples is something most people never buy. Broccoli sprouts. Not broccoli. Broccoli sprouts. These tiny 3 to 5 day old sprouts contain exceptionally high levels of a compound called sulforaphane. In fact, some studies have found that broccoli sprouts can contain dramatically higher concentrations of sulforaphane precursors than mature broccoli. Why does that matter? Because sulforaphane has been studied for its ability to support the body's own detoxification and antioxidant systems. Think of it like activating an internal cleanup crew. As we get older, those protective systems become less efficient. Oxidative stress increases, inflammation becomes more common, and the body has a harder time responding to cellular damage. That's one reason researchers became so interested in sulforaphane in the first place. What makes this even more interesting is that many people destroy a large portion of the benefit without realizing it. Heat matters. Broccoli sprouts are best consumed raw because the compounds responsible for forming sulforaphane are sensitive to excessive cooking. A small handful added to a salad, sandwich, or smoothie is usually enough. And here's something most people have never heard. Adding a small amount of mustard powder may help increase sulforaphane formation because it provides an enzyme that supports the process. A tiny change, potentially a meaningful difference. But broccoli sprouts aren't the most surprising food on today's list, not even close, because the next one has been consumed for thousands of years, and modern research is still uncovering new ways it may support healthy aging. The second food surprises a lot of people because millions already consume it every day, yet most are using it completely wrong: green tea. Not because it's trendy, not because it's ancient, because of one compound researchers continue to study very closely: EGCG. EGCG is a plant compound that appears to support healthy inflammatory responses, antioxidant defenses, and normal cellular function. In simple terms, it's one of the reasons green tea has attracted so much scientific attention. But here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They rush it. They dip the tea bag for 20 seconds, take a sip, and move on. The problem is that many of the compounds people want from green tea need time to extract. A longer brew generally produces a stronger concentration. And there's another simple trick. Add lemon. Research suggests vitamin C may help protect some of green tea's beneficial compounds during digestion, allowing more of them to remain available to the body. Small change, potentially meaningful difference. But green tea isn't the most powerful thing on this list, because the next food attacks a problem that quietly increases with age: chronic inflammation. After 50, many people develop what researchers sometimes call low-grade chronic inflammation. You don't feel it directly, you don't wake up and notice it, but over time it affects nearly every system in the body: your joints, your blood vessels, your metabolism, even your immune system. And one of the most studied natural compounds for supporting a healthy inflammatory response comes from a bright yellow spice sitting in kitchens around the world: turmeric. More specifically, curcumin. Curcumin has been the subject of thousands of scientific papers over the last 2 decades. Why? Because researchers continue to investigate its potential role in supporting healthy inflammatory pathways. But there is a catch, and it's a big one. Your body absorbs curcumin very poorly on its own. In fact, many people take turmeric every day and receive very little benefit simply because most of it passes through the digestive system unused. That's where black pepper enters the picture. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine, and piperine can dramatically improve curcumin absorption. That's why you'll often see high-quality turmeric products paired with black pepper extract. Without it, you're leaving a lot on the table. But even turmeric isn't the most surprising food researchers have focused on, because the next item isn't a spice, it isn't a tea, and it may be one of the most overlooked foods for healthy aging after 50, especially when it comes to supporting the body's natural balance over the long term. Now we get to the foods that tend to surprise people the most, because they're not exotic, they're not expensive, and they're available in almost every grocery store. Fatty fish. Specifically, sardines, mackerel, salmon, and other fish rich in omega-3 fatty acids. For years, omega-3s have been studied primarily for heart health, but researchers have become increasingly interested in another area, inflammation. Remember what we talked about earlier? As we age, chronic low-grade inflammation becomes more common, and when inflammation remains elevated for years, it can create an environment that places additional stress on normal cellular processes. Omega-3 fats appear to help support a healthier inflammatory balance. That's one reason they're consistently associated with healthier aging patterns across multiple populations around the world. And here's something interesting. The people who live in several of the world's longest-lived populations often consume fish regularly. Not every day, not in huge amounts, but consistently. A few times each week. That's a pattern worth paying attention to. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is consistency. 2 to 3 servings per week is enough for most people. But even fatty fish isn't number one, because the most surprising food on this list isn't really feeding you directly. It's feeding something inside you, your gut microbiome. Over the last decade, scientists have discovered something remarkable. The bacteria living inside your digestive system influence far more than digestion. They influence immune function, inflammation, metabolism, even aspects of brain health, and one of the fastest ways to support microbiome diversity is through fermented foods. Foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, plain yogurt with live cultures, naturally fermented vegetables. These foods contain beneficial bacteria that help support a healthier microbial environment. And researchers are finding that people with greater microbiome diversity often show healthier inflammatory markers and stronger immune responses. Think of your gut like a garden. A healthy garden contains many different plants working together. A damaged garden becomes dominated by only a few species. The same thing can happen inside the digestive system. The goal isn't simply adding bacteria. The goal is encouraging diversity. That's why fermented foods continue attracting so much scientific attention. But before you run to the store and fill your refrigerator with everything on today's list, there's something even more important: the mistakes. Because one daily mistake can cancel out many healthy choices. Mistake number 1: ultra-processed foods. Foods loaded with refined sugars, refined starches, artificial additives, and highly processed oils continue to be associated with poorer health outcomes across numerous studies. The problem isn't one cookie. The problem is building an entire diet around foods that provide calories but very little nutritional value. Mistake number 2: not getting enough fiber. Fiber doesn't get the attention protein gets, but your gut bacteria depend on it. Without fiber, even beneficial bacteria struggle to thrive. Most adults eat far less fiber than experts recommend, and that's a problem. Mistake number 3: looking for a miracle food. This might be the biggest mistake of all. People hear about one superfood and expect it to solve everything. But health rarely works that way. It's the pattern that matters. Not one meal, not one supplement, not one ingredient. The pattern. The foods on today's list aren't magic, they're tools. And when they're combined with good sleep, regular movement, stress management, and an overall balanced diet, they may help support the systems your body relies on every single day. So if there's one thing to remember from this video, let it be this: Your body is constantly responding to the signals you give it. Every meal sends a signal. Every habit sends a signal. Every day sends a signal. And over time, those signals add up. You don't need a perfect diet. You don't need expensive supplements. You don't need to change everything overnight. Just start with one change, one habit, one food, and build from there. Because the small things you do consistently often have a far greater impact than the dramatic things you do once. And that's where lasting health usually begins.